Welcome, Bishop Yvette. I would love for you to share your story from your childhood and growing up in terms of looking at the discovery of being a gay woman combined with your spirituality, which I know was such a big part of your childhood. How did that divide and then reconcile in your journey?
Wonderful question. Well, thank you for the invitation to be a part of this conversation, Mark, and to all of our kindred that are part of this conversation. We welcome you into this dialogue. I would venture to say that my path from the time that I was very, very young, I realized myself to be spiritual. Maybe that's a good way for me to say sort of an empath. And someone who throughout my entire experience has never been in fear and terror of the divine. I've always felt connected to God and God connected to me. I've had real problems, however, with religion. And so I wanted very much to fit in. I come from a multi-generational church family that dates all the way back to my grandfather's connection with Bishop Charles Harrison Mason and the people who came out of the Azusa Street revival, which was the sort of the beginnings of classical Pentecostalism. What I wanted to do was to really connect with the divine, connect with God, and please God. Maybe that's the best way for me to say it. But what was required of me in the church of my origin was counterculture. It was completely opposite to what I felt in my spirit. I felt myself called to justice work, and from an early age, engaged in the needs of the hungry and the poor, senior citizens who were in so many ways forgotten at a certain point in time in life, people of color, LGBT people who had been marginalized and disregarded. I felt myself called to people at the margins of church and society, religion and society. And then I knew myself to be a woman leader, which also didn't fit well, but a same gender woman leader. I knew that I was same gender loving as soon as I knew me. I began to have real questions. And because I have always felt that I was in intimate relationship with the divine, I understood that this was not the plan of God, that I'd be somehow bifurcated or trifurcated in some way. It was not the plan of God for me to be created to be the miracle that I am. As my friend Danny Bell Hall used to say, I'm a designer's original, one of a kind, created by a master with one purpose in mind, to be a showcase of God's glory for the whole world to see, and an example of God's beauty as God shines through you and me. I believed that from the time that I was a child, but I could not reconcile that with what it was that the church was demanding of me. I did not see myself as less than because I was same gender loving. I saw myself as less than as in terms of through the eyes of other people, less than what it was they expected me to be. So that became my path for exile. I was slated for exile as certainly as a same gender loving woman who fully affirmed myself. And I was slated for exile because my theology began to be much broader than what was afforded me in the Pentecostal church, the Trinitarian Pentecostal church that I was raised in. And I'm not, hating on them, because I thank God for those old mothers who prayed with me all into the night when I was seeking relationship, individual, personal relationship with the divine. I thank God for them. I really do. And I hold them very dear in my heart. And I am raised by Southern Pentecostals. So and you can hear it in my voice. I was born in San Francisco, but I was raised in the womb of Texas folks, and the consequence of not only did it leave me with greens and fried chicken and cornbread, it also left me with clapping on the 2 and the 4 and playing a tambourine and dancing in worship and enjoying what is my heritage by virtue of my birth and my connections with these folks. And those are the things I thank God for. I don't, but theologically we got off the page, and I experienced exile. And I will leave this part of this conversation, this part of it, only saying to you, I thank God daily for exile.
Oh.
I thank God daily. I learned some things in my exile from my church, but also exile from my family. And I learned some things walking a path just with the divine for a period of time. And one of the things I learned is that I am good company to myself when I'm by myself with the Spirit. I'm good company. I know how to be alone. Isn't that a blessing? I mean, it's a
It is such a beautiful thing to say, because I too know that I would not be the magnificent, fabulous being that I am if I hadn't been gay and taken that exiled path.
yes.
Oh, I mean, I fell down and landed in the back alley a couple times on my exile, but God did get me out. So
Yes.
I'm just forever grateful.
Well, that is my testimony. I must say that yea, though I walk through the valley and the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for God is with me.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for that time. I am grateful to find out that we are able to succeed in life, in love, and in faith, taking a path completely different than what we thought possible.
Yes. Amen.
What a blessing that is. So I would venture to say that is much of now. All sorts of things happen that I didn't even know existed on earth. But all sorts of things happen when I was able to see the bigger picture and a broader expression and a greater and a deeper understanding of the divine. So I think that's the heart of it.
And the purpose of your being, how God orchestrated all of that beautiful history combined with all of the expressions of otherness, for lack of a better word, not in God, but in the world, and how it's all come together is just beautiful. Would you take a moment and share with our people tonight a story about the healing work you did with your mom? Because you were very intentional around making that relationship whole in your heart. And I think that's important.
Yes. My mother, who, by the way, we're born on the same day. 22 years apart, but we're born on the same day. And my mother knew who I was, I believe, probably before I did. But she was hoping that something would happen. She'd seen other women like myself in our churches who did what one of the old saints told me one day. She said, I see you, Yvette. I know who you are. She said, what you need to do is get your little husband. I knew exactly what she was suggesting that I do, that I marry into a cover so that I could keep being who I am, if you understand. She said, baby, what you need to do is go out there and get you a little husband. That's what she told me. Okay. Well, I did for a while, and my little husband was gay and so was I. So we thought we canceled each other out or something. But anyway, my mother had hoped that I could at least live the ruse, so that I would not have to bear the shame. And then vicariously, what we always have to remember in these very conservative environments, that what we experience, our parents experience, and they are thought of in many cases as being deficient when we are thought of as being deficient. And their peers whisper about them, about how we weren't raised right and that kind of thing. So when I finally came out publicly, and began to really engage myself, particularly around the early years of HIV, in publicly talking about a group of people who had been disregarded and marginalized in the epidemic in horrible ways. I got on the front page of a lot of things, and it put my mother in a situation. And I realized that, and she distanced herself from me. She stopped talking to me, you know. She was giving me dust, you know, and I missed her, you know. I missed her. The 29th of July, it's got very sad for me because that was our birthday. And so Spirit spoke to me one morning. I was agonizing. I was, you know, in grief about my mother. And Spirit spoke to me and said, call her. And I said, okay, and say what? And then one word came in my spirit, shopping. So anyway, I called my mother. I said, hi, Mama. She said, hi. It was like that, real dry, you know. I said, how you doing? Fine. That's what I got back from her. I said, listen, you were on my mind really strong today. And I'm coming over to the house to get you. She said, for what? I said, we're going shopping. Pause, pregnant pause, pause. She said, where? I said, we're going to Off Fifth. We're going to Nordstrom's Rack. We're going to Last Call. Because I knew her. I knew these were the places like she liked to hang out. And so what time you coming? I said, well, I should be there in about an hour. So I got up, got dressed, went over and got Mama. And we went shopping. You know, I was carrying her bags. I spent money. I bought the stuff she wanted. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
We didn't talk about anything deep because I'm finding out that healing is very relational. You know, it's not theological. It's not scientific. It's relational. We had to be together. And while we were together and shopping, and then when the next week she wanted to take half the stuff back that she bought, because that's the way she shopped. She kept half, she took half back in exchange for some other stuff. And that was how we
My
shopped.
kind of woman.
Yeah, that's the way she ran it. And so I was her person. Monday was my day off. And so I went and got her and we went shopping. And somewhere along the way out there, Mark, she said to me, Yvette, it's just some things I just don't understand. And she started asking me these questions and asking me these questions and asking me how my theology shifted and changed. She said, because, you know, I know you're filled with the Spirit. She said, and I just don't understand. And so we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. And then finally we had one last lunch. I remember we were at Neiman Marcus. That's when she wanted to go to Neiman Marcus. We went to Neiman Marcus, sitting down at the lunch counter, and she said, Yvette, she said, what do lesbians do? I said, Mama, I said, I cannot talk to you about that. She said, oh yeah. And she crossed her legs at the ankle. She said, you're going to answer my question. She said, because I can't figure it out. She said, all I understand, she said, is holes and poles. I almost fell out on the ground. I mean, can you imagine your mother saying that? All I understand, Yvette, is holes and poles.
I love her.
That's my mama. So we got into this conversation. And then to make a long, beautiful story short, over time, we studied every theological concept from the existence of heaven or hell, the existence of God and evil, the existence of the roles of men and women, our stewardship responsibilities for the earth. We talked about everything.
Wow.
And she kept listening and she kept listening. And one day she stopped. She asked, so I answered. One day she stopped. She said, shut up, Yvette. Shut up. Okay. So after a little while, I said, so where did that come from? She said, because if what you are telling me is true, there are things that I have believed all of my life that I did not have to believe. She said, and you do understand that makes me feel like a fool. And I remember saying to Mama, I said, what you did was you put your finger right on why change is so hard for us. Mm-hmm. When we give years of our life to a belief system or to an idea or to a theory, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's racism or white supremacy, if it's the degradation of women, if it's the fact that thinking that the United States is the greatest nation in the world, or just all kinds of things that we were brought up around that we don't agree with anymore. But that some of our elders have believed it all of their lives, and for them to come into change, and at 70, which is, you know, for her to, that was hard. She said, it makes me feel like a fool. And then one day she came to my house, and I heard her downstairs, ding, 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 ding. And I turned over to Shirley. I said, that's Mama. Nobody but Mama would be doing that. It's the doorbell, ding, 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 ding. So I went downstairs, opened the door, and there was my mama. There was my Pentecostal mama, who I had never seen in a pair of pants. My Pentecostal mama, who her wardrobe was church clothes. You know, the rest of it was like house dresses, you know. Her wardrobe was church clothes. There she was. She had on this whole J-Lo pantsuit that was like active wear. The pants, the tennis shoes, the zip up top, a hat with sequins on the cap that she had to pull down to one side. I almost fell out. I said, Mama, who are you? What did you do with my mother? She said, honey, she said, I just came by to tell you I'm free. Oh. That's what my mother said to me that day, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
And from that time until the day she died, she became my champion.
I just have
She
chills.
left her denomination. She became a part of our denomination.
Yeah.
And she became a surrogate parent for more lonely and lost LGBT people than I can even explain to you. My mother got on the altar with people crying and weeping, trying to get past their own sorrow and their own pain. My mother, and she rests now with the ancestors. But I have to tell you, when my mother affirmed me, I decided that day, nothing is impossible.
Amen.
Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Shopping. That's what I want to say to folks. You never know.
I'm a gay man who loves my shopping. So
baby, when I tell you, so did my mama. Baby, when I tell you. And we had a great life.
Yeah. So the important question is, and I know you can answer this from your heart because it's such a beautiful story. What do you say to the LGBTQIA plus person who doesn't currently have their mama, hasn't had that healing, or perhaps isn't going to have that healing this lifetime, at least in the physical? What do you say to them? How can you help them?
What I would first say is that sometimes we have to parent our parents. And parenting our parents does not always mean insisting that they agree with us. Sometimes it's about finding the other places where you have commonality, where you can connect. I think we could spend much less time being angry with them, even when they just piss us off royally. I think we could spend less time being angry with them and try to get under their pain with them. And again, understand that when we come all the way out, especially when we're flashing out there, when we come all the way out, we force them to come out too, and they didn't buy into that. We have to release them from our expectation that they will give up everything to support us. The question is, would we give up everything to support them? And the likelihood is no. So why is it that we would expect that they would do that for us? And kindly and lovingly, I think we have to parent our parents into wholeness.
What is a vision on your heart for the LGBTQIA plus world? What do you think is next, or what is calling us forward in our spirit?
Yes. You know, most of my adult life, as I've said, have known that I'm a same-gender loving woman. And I have never seen it as a curse. I didn't understand how much of a blessing it was. Yeah. What we were gifted with is sight, because we are over third eyesight, overcompensated with prophets and seers and artists and singers and painters and dancers and interior designers, people who know color, people who know texture. We are overcompensated in poetry, in literacy, period, overcompensated as healers and counselors and helpers, because we are sent to the whole family, because we carry the whole family. And in the tribes in Israel, there were a couple of tribes that never went to war. The priests, the ones who were called to keep the house, and the ones who were called the sons of Issachar, they didn't go to war because they were the tribe of prophets. The way that the King James says is that they were the ones who knew the times. They were the walking almanacs. You know, they were the seers. And just about every same gender-loving person that I know has some of the gifting. And Native American people knew it when they saw how children interacted, and they were between the ways of boys and the ways of girls. Clearly, they could pick up one or the other or both and at any given time. They often called them out and got them ready to be priests.
Yeah.
The same was true in African tribes. They didn't shame them. They knew they were holy unto the divine for the sake of the whole tribe, because you can't serve the whole tribe if you can't be some of both at the same time. You need to start understanding your divine call, and that you were led out of eternity into time. And at some point, you and I are going to go back into eternity. But while we are in time, we are here on assignment. Mm-hmm. And part of our assignment as LGBT people is to be the voice, the way, the heart of spirit for the whole family. We are for the whole family. That is our call, and we are called by the divine to make things beautiful, yes, colorful, yes, tasty, exciting, effervescent. That is who we are. Never, ever, ever question the divine about why the divine called you to be this designer's original. But be grateful every day that you were chosen, and do the work that needs to be done to bring light and love and light